Hello, thank you for joining us. My name is Andy Palmer, and I'm going to be facilitating a panel with us here. We're going to be talking about the need for community at our company and how and why employee networks are supporting each other with disabilities at Microsoft. So looking forward to it. Quick introduction on myself, and I'll do an introduction with the panel. Again, my name's Andy. I am a talent director in our recruiting team and one of the co-chairs of our disability ERG. For those as you're listening in, just describing kind of the setting I'm in, I'm a white male in a green sweater. Unfortunate to report, I think officially my hair is gray now. And I'm sitting in my home office. Let's do a quick round with the our executive sponsor in our panel. So I'll start with introducing Chuck Edward, one of our executive sponsors of the ERG.
Hi, I'm Chuck Edward. In my day job, I lead human resources for the cloud and AI division of Microsoft. And I'm also the proud exec sponsor, along with 3 other great executives, for the disability ERG at Microsoft. To set the stage, like Andy, I would have liked to have said my hair is brown. The reality is it's getting more and more gray. I have a beard. I'm wearing glasses. I have a purple and gray shirt in my home office. And I'm really pleased to be here today.
And Andreas, do you introduce yourself?
All right. Hello, my name is Andreas. I'm a workers' council in Munich. I am a man, I'm white. I do have no hair. Lucky the others, they have hair. I don't have hair, I wear glasses, and I'm sitting almost since 1 year in my home office, in my little home office. But it's very nice because I do have a window on my left side and I can look out to my very nice garden.
Thank you, Andreas. And Gabriella.
Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here with you today. I am a 29-year-old white woman with brown wavy hair, and I'm wearing a gray sweater. And I'm sitting in Brazil. I'm an account executive for public sector and also the accessibility lead for Microsoft Brazil as well. And as everybody else, I'm sitting in my home office here in São Paulo.
Thank you. And Matt.
Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Manuel, and I'm the Canada lead of the disability ERG for our country. I'm also a technical program manager in commercial software engineering at Microsoft. I'm a white male, and what little hair I have on top is brown, and I have a beard. I'm wearing glasses. I have a green shirt on, and I'm also in my home office, and I have a room divider behind me.
Thank you, Matt. And last but not least, Pratima.
Hi, everyone. I'm Pratima Amonkar. I'm an Asian Indian woman with curly black hair at shoulder length. I'm wearing a red top with a white pattern. I'm wearing glasses and I'm sitting at my home office at Singapore with a false white background. I'm the ISV lead in the One Commercial Partner Organization in GSMO, headquartered at Singapore. And in addition to leading the work of our accessibility team and our ERG across the region.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining us and being part of the panel. Just a quick note, if you have any questions as we go through this, just please put them in the chat. So we will monitor that and answer questions as we go through this. And yeah, I'm excited to have everybody here. I'm one of the really neat things I would say in the last year has just been the growth of our community and coming together. It's felt like that with all of us working in a remote setting, that we've really had the opportunity to come together more globally with our partners, especially in our community. So our panel here is very international, outside of Redmond, that's joining us. So excited to have the discussion and really get points of view from across the world on this topic. So I'll start just really quick with Chuck. Chuck, I've had the pleasure of working with you for a couple years now in this work. And first of all, thank you for taking the time to be our executive sponsor. Could you give us maybe a little bit of background on your role as an executive sponsor, what your experience of that has been?
Yeah, gladly. I think to start with that discussion, Andy, it's important to kind of go back and think about Microsoft's rich history of having ERGs. I think ERGs and what were once called affinity groups have been a part of our culture for many, many years. And you could argue that early on, it was really organic, and it was groups of people coming together to create a safe space for themselves to in turn empower each other. Very, very rich and very, very helpful. What's really changed over the last several years at Microsoft, though, is that the company's kind of acknowledging that we all, as employees and as leaders of this company, need to find a way to empower others. And it's really part of our mission, right? This idea that we're going to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. That's really the best baseline I can think of to think about what an ERG and what ERG sponsorship could mean. Take that a step further. We talk a lot about our culture, a culture of growth mindset, a culture of learning, a culture of seeking allyship and relying on empathy to make each other better. That fits perfectly in the world of ERGs. So my role as an exec sponsor is to really help bring the mission and culture to life, along with my other co-sponsors, to empower a group of employees to be their best. Those are powerful words. In this case, I have a specific inclination for the disability group. I myself currently have an invisible disability. I was diagnosed with MS 10 years ago, multiple sclerosis. So there's a personal passion, there's a professional passion, and more, it just is the right thing to do. So more specifically, how do we think about the role of an exec sponsor? Again, bring the culture and mission to life, create empowerment, allyship. Of course, we help with funding and guidelines and policies. Hopefully, we're empowering the population to think about product innovation and a heightened customer centricity. But throughout all of that, it's really, can we create a collective safe space where we all bring our best? And even this experience right here is just amazing. I'm sitting in my home office, literally speaking to the world about a topic like empowerment of those with disabilities to make others better. And in so many ways, it doesn't get any better than that. I'll close by just saying that very same culture is what gave me the empowerment to disclose my disability to my manager, who's the head of human resources for Microsoft. So the stage doesn't really get any bigger than that. And yet I felt safe to do that and to in turn, hopefully enable others to do the same thing.
Well, again, we appreciate all the work you've done for our community, Chuck, and leaned in on, policies and helped us think through and, navigate this world we've been in for the last year and support our community. I've been really proud of how the company's stepped up to support us. So building off of what Chuck had just walked through, let's start at the beginning. Andreas, I'll start with you. So every good community has a beginning or genesis at some point. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your experience in that and any advice as you've set that up in Germany for folks in setting up community and establishing them.
Yes, I love to, because it's a great story we have in Germany. So we started in December 2018, and before we founded the ERG disability in Germany, I've been already elected as a representative of severely disabled people and for Germany, for Microsoft Germany. And for several years, we have talking about people with disability behind closed doors at Microsoft in Germany. So this was a behavior which we need to break, which we have to break. And I'm also a person with disability myself since 2008, and I know what's going on behind the door. But that's what the stone we need to get rolled. So I was so important for us co-founder. We were two, the Matthias Droste and I. Was we need to create visible platforms. So we need to find a community, raise awareness, and educate people throughout the organization. This was something we had in thought. And then, lucky we, in December, as I said, 2018, we founded a local disability ERG in Germany, which I'm very proud of it. So we started the team of two, as I said, quickly realized that, there are a lot of requests, a lot of things to do, a lot of tasks. But yes, we were supported from HR, from the HR D&I lead, but it was too much for us too. So what we did then, we exchanged us with other ERGs. So like the Clean ERG in Germany, they are much longer here in Germany, founded as our disability ERG, and they have a lot of experiences. And they with that, what they already learned, we learned a lot. But then what we did is we changed our setup. So we created a new board, a new ERG disability board with 6 members, and had a fantastic start and were very effective. So to raise then the internal awareness. The other thing what we struggled in the beginning was, so there were so many requests, so internal requests and external requests because of disability and how can we support and how to raise the awareness, and also from external side, from the customer side, the employees, the colleagues, they were out and said, hey, we do have a local ERG, and they're supporting the locals in Germany, and they're supporting the disability people in Germany with Microsoft. And then we got also the external asks. How do you do that? How can you support us? And this is something we struggled in the beginning also. And then we found a team was founded in Germany, where have the task to do just the external business requests. And the team is today called OCAP team, and the OCAP team has the responsibility for the external awareness. And then it changed. So we had the internal focus, then the ERG disability had the internal focus, and the OCAP team had the external focus. We do have still an exchange between us two, but we still have, everybody has clear responsibilities. This is a very, very important thing. Nevertheless, we achieved the great things the last 2 years, more than the last 2 years. We do have now a huge numbers of members in our ERG. We do have a big network through the teams, Yemmas, mailing list, a lot of things which we can spread awareness. We can give the people a platform to ask to be there as they are. This is something we created already, and this is a big thing. We also had created some processes, and we adapted the process like the centralized accommodation program or process. Then we have adapted into a talent pool program called My Ability, was founded in Austria. Now we are a member, we are the second time in this program, and then we can support also people with disability, talent people to come to us to say, hey, Microsoft is open for you. You can come to us. We are raising awareness internal with a lot of events, with the Global Accessibility Awareness Day, with the International Day of People with Disability. We do have external speakers. So in the meantime, we have a big group and big awareness, and what we found and what we have now, what I said already in the beginning. So we are not a close community with disabled people. We are open community. Everybody has the right to say, hey, there's something, I need something. Can you help me? What is the right way? Also go to the manager. So we now have an open community, which is very nice. And the journeys is big, and that's what we are doing. A lot of stuff we are doing, but it's not the time for. But what we have reached is just something which we are very proud of it.
It's great. Thank you for sharing that journey with us, Andreas. And we're very fortunate to have you in Germany up online and leaning in on the topic for us. Gabriella, I wanted to switch to you. Learn a little bit on the on your front in Brazil, and specifically want to think a little bit about the space that you need for community. Like how do you make space? What's your experience been in kind of the evolution of the space that the community comes together in?
Yeah. So Andy, I think the first thing I need to mention is that we are on a journey. Right. So as you mentioned, so we are not perfect. We are not there yet, because this is a transformational journey and we have to learn with others every single day. And why I say that, because when I first entered as the accessibility lead, so as I first got my position, the feedback I received from the community was, Gabi, we are doing too much things for outside of Microsoft and not enough things inside of Microsoft. What that means, we had to generate awareness and information in the subsidiary so people could be more comfortable to talk about accessibility. I think this was super important. And why? Because we don't know what we don't know. So people in Brazil was not comfortable to talk about accessibility. They did not know if they could say blind person or visual impaired person. And that thing made them back a little bit to talk about it. So what we did in Brazil, the first thing we did was to generate awareness, to send information, receive people outside of Microsoft, customers, partners, to talk about their challenges. Because our technology could indeed enable inclusion workplace, inclusion schools, universities, but people are in the center on the transformation journey that I just mentioned. So what we did in Brazil actually was three main pillars to this safe place that you just mentioned. The first thing was, one, awareness, information, training, not only to the subsidiary, but also for the leadership. And once the subsidiary was more comfortable, they understood how our technology could engage and help this inclusion journey. And where they were, we started to build our own stories, right? So I always say that I count the story that I was in the Court of Justice in São Paulo, one of the biggest counters that we have in the world, which is my customer as well. And I was the accessibility lead on the first month of my leadership. And I was presenting our accessibility pitch and our technology. And on the table, on the meeting, there was two blind women that worked there. And then I did all my pitch. And in the end, I had a video. But the video was in English and they didn't speak English. And then I figured, wow, what should I do now? They won't understand what I'm going to pass. So I stopped that there and said, girls, I have a video. The video is in English. What do you prefer? Do you prefer that we read the caption to you, or you prefer that we pass the video to all the audience and then everybody says what they think about the video? So in that moment, I figured that I was learning. I was not going to be right every time, but it was important for my learning, and that I shared with all the subsidiaries so they understand that it's okay if you shows that you care. That's where you need to be, right? So that's the first pillar. The second pillar for our transformation here in Brazil was that once the subsidiary was more comfortable with the subject, we received a lot of members and allies in our ERG. And that helped us to have at least one champion, if I may say, or one representative person in every group of the subsidiary. So people were more comfortable to ask them what they should say, what they could present to customers, what they could talk with the community. And the third and final pillar, which was very important, was the GM and the leadership sponsorship. Because accessibility and inclusion is not negotiable in Microsoft. And I hope this is not negotiable anywhere anymore. So it's super important that the leadership understand this, and also, as Chuck just mentioned, show that to all the company in order that the culture indeed reinforce it. So I think this is what we have learned here in Brazil.
Thanks so much for sharing that, Gabriela. So important to have the local sponsorship that you brought up as well. You brought another topic to mind for me, which is just recognizing that different regions are at different places in this journey of inclusion at our company. And I actually wanted to get Chuck's perspective on this. Chuck, your day job, you oversee and partner with HR for our C+ AI organization, which is a large global group. What's your experience been in terms of working with our business that's in a lot of different regions, and how close are we in terms of alignment on the topic of inclusion, or how big are the gaps?
I think it's different throughout the world, and it's at different stages in different parts of our businesses. And Gabriella said such a powerful word, it's a journey. So I first of all would say we're all on a journey. We're all at different stages, and each day we look to get better. But what was so striking about the story that I just heard was, in a moment of truth in front of a customer, the ability to be vulnerable, to learn on the fly, and to say, how can we best support you? So think about that space of, we're solutioning with a customer, we're being vulnerable as a market leader, and at the same time trying to get to a better place. That's like a micro moment that I hope happens thousands of times throughout the next several years. And I think, Andy, that's the essence. Is our cultural expectation overlay providing all of us space to say, let's seek to understand each other, let's learn from each other, and let's try to get to a better place? That's a mix of how leaders message, how managers do their day job. But to Gabriella's story, in that moment of truth, she had to feel empowered to admit, I might not know the answer right now, and that's really okay. And by inviting you into helping me learn, that surely sends a message that, guess what, we're likely to be able to solution on a lot of different topics if we have that mindset. So to answer your question, I think it's mixed. But the common set of expectations we've created for each other make me pretty optimistic that we can get there.
Awesome. Yeah, and doing that globally is it's been really impressive to see at the company. I'm really excited about the impact it's having and will have. Matt, switching over to you in Canada. So we've heard a little bit about how community starts. We've heard a little bit about fostering the community, making space for it. Wondering about your experience in Canada in terms of building awareness of the community, growing the community. Canada's been one that I've interfaced with you and have seen great uptick. So what's happening in Canada, and how are you all accomplishing that?
Yeah, thanks, Andy. We're actually really excited. We're a relatively new chapter. We just formed officially in August last year, and my chapter co-leads, Amanda and Leanne, join me in that, and we have a local executive sponsor in Emma De Silva as well. So we're still building our community. We're using primarily our Teams channels and an email distribution list just to sort of get the word out and foster discussion, ask questions, pass along tips and tricks. We formed in part because Canada is a very large country. We're thousands of kilometers from coast to coast, and we have several thousand Microsoft employees here. And I think just as importantly, part of our mission is supporting not only our employees, but our employees' families and their friends as well. So one of the ways we've been able to kind of take advantage of our ability to reach people is here at Microsoft Canada, every month we take a pause for one day and we have what we call a day of learning. So the employees, we just sort of put pencils down on our day jobs, and it's an employee-led learning sessions that people can sign up for. So our disability ERG chapter here in Canada, we've actually sponsored 2 of those sessions. The first one we started with one of our friends from the gaming division, Katie Scott, who works at the Coalition here in Vancouver, BC. And she gave just an amazing talk on being an accessibility champion, not just with a focus on gaming, but built on her experience in gaming. And I think one of the big lessons that she passed along was that accessibility features are important for many more people than you might initially think. That accessibility is important for so many folks that may not have a disability that it was exactly intended for, but can still benefit them. And then we were really fortunate to have 2 others give another talk on accessibility design. We had Bryce Johnson, who's one of the co-designers of the Xbox Adaptive Controller. And he came and gave a talk on how that controller sort of came to be. And another one of his big messages there was, I love that phrase of nothing about us without us. And that controller, if you don't know, it actually went through extensive testing with people in the disability community, both inside Microsoft, more importantly, outside Microsoft. And I think that led in part to its success as a gaming controller. And then we had Javier Zafra, and he is an engineer working, at the time he was working on the Microsoft Paint application. And he walked us through a little bit of his journey on learning about accessibility, learning about how people with disabilities might use an application like MS Paint, and how he was able to introduce some features there. So that ability to reach out to our community, but also beyond our community, and talk about these sort of things at our Canada Day of Learning has been instrumental in kind of growing our group here and getting our message out.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. Pratima, I wanted to ask you in APAC on the topic of community. What have you experienced in terms of how do you connect these communities into impact with partners, product teams, customers? What have you seen on your end and the impact we've been able to have as a community?
Yes, Andy. Thank you. Thank you for asking me this question. And I actually need to thank all my co-panelists. The stories are so inspiring. I learned so much. So thanks a lot. To tell you something about APAC, APAC is a very unique and extremely diverse region. We have many small and large countries like Singapore, Korea, New Zealand, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, the Philippines, Sri Lanka, to name just a few. And here, what's very special is that the needs of the country, the needs of the community are really unique and diverse and specific to that country itself. So what we have tried to do here at APAC is to talk about the work that we at Microsoft internally have rolled out. We share our learnings in a regular fashion with the community, with the idea of amplifying this awareness, amplifying the impact with the community, with our customers and partners as part of our journey itself. So let me share with you 2 big programs that we rolled out across the past few months, and how our experience has been with those 2 programs. So firstly, a very interesting, I call it a scale engine. that we have created and will continue to develop is the AI for Accessibility Hackathon that we adapted locally to include developers, local developers, startups, partners, and customers. So this year, as you can imagine, we had to move it to an online format. And it was unique because we were able to now cover 11 countries. We had over 600 participants. And what we did, Andy, here is that we tied up in each country with local NPOs. So there were real use cases and real problem statements set by the NPOs requiring, impact locally. So participants then, attended over 22 hours of workshops where our teams, our tech folk talk about our Microsoft stack and how they could actually create assistive tech on our stack. The top 7 winners now are being mentored and they're being supported with engineering and business support to really bring all these prototypes, these ideas to life. And the end goal is to help them publish on our marketplace or GitHub and really make it open to the communities. So I was very excited because not only this improved brand perception of Microsoft, but it also got communities and startups to start innovating using our stack, using our platform, and start thinking about accessible technology and assistive tech. So that was fun. That was good. And then we, launched another program with our partners, which again has been a heartening experience. It's very new. We are just getting started. But this was just very earlier in Q2, where we launched for the first time ever a program called the Microsoft Enabler Program. So here what we did, Andy, is that we invited some of our key commercial partners, whom we work with on a daily basis. We said, come and join us on this program. The whole, the program was seeking to do was to increase the employability of partners, of people with disabilities, also delight customers and expand that pipeline of talent. So we tied up with a few nonprofit organizations who behave like the single point of contact with the PWD. Our partners provide opportunities. They provide the opportunities for job shadowing, mentorships, internships, and employment. The NPOs train these partners with employer workshops on how to be inclusive and how to actually hire inclusively. And we, on our part, we provide training to the PWD to help prepare for tech roles. And then we also handhold our partners on accessibility, inclusive design, evolving their culture around accessibility. And we are helping them get thinking and starting down this path. And this kind of consortium-based approach has had a really good progress. So I'm very excited because we are now at 6 countries. We have 19 partners and counting. We have rolled out over 45 training hours for our partners on inclusive design. 65 roles have been offered and over 110 people are being matched to jobs now. The real win to me is when the partners have started adopting the same disability inclusive principles that we at Microsoft believe in. So partners are developing all these, training programs and helping people to prepare for careers in tech with our help, and they have started down that path. And parallelly, our business is winning because our partners are creating these deep connects with Microsoft. This improves our relationship and this improves our business with our partners also, as well as our brand perception, and the customer connects are becoming very strong. So this consortium approach and scaling it with many partners, especially in the tinier countries that we have here, it's like igniting a movement across APAC. And I'm hopeful that this will really help create impact on, in a movement kind of a format, create impact on disability inclusion and assistive tech for many years to come.
Thank you so much for sharing that. One call out you made is on the mentorship and the impact that can have. And that's something I've seen broadly in our ERG. Different mentorship programs stood up, and just the impact that has on our community has been great. And also invite everyone listening to this. We've seen great collaboration, I think, in our ERG's Teams channel as well, with product teams coming in, customer servicing teams coming in, engaging with our community with questions, sometimes very topic specific or feature specific for our products or the deployment of a product. So it's been great to see that business impact. Well, time gets by on us pretty fast here. We're coming up on the end of our time. And with that, I wanted to, first I'll say, I think it's safe to say we've had a different year last year in terms of how I used to do my job versus how I do my day job now. And we're getting ready to go through that transition again. I think the year in front of us, we're hearing more and more about things opening, and we're hearing more and more about hybrid workspace. So Chuck, I wanted to get your thoughts on kind of the future for us as a community. And specifically, have there been any learnings from COVID in terms of the shifts we've had to make as a company and how that might influence us for the year and years ahead?
So many learnings, Andy. I think the best way to describe it would be the world went through a social experiment, a very, very accelerated social experiment that none of us really saw coming. And if there's a silver lining to it, I think back to a learning mindset, it forced us to really think about, what do we want the future to be? Where do we take the best of what we've learned during the social experiment and amplify it? And what might have been some of the hard lessons? If I think about the disability community, and I'll generalize, in some ways we normalized this feeling that we all are at home, or most of us are at home. There's some exceptions to that. Most of us have had to find some form of accommodation, to use that term broadly, to be productive. And we've had to experience what that means. We've had to adapt. And in the best of ways, when you come out on the other side of having to adapt, hopefully you're stronger. What we're really playing off of in the future is this power of choice. Some employers are choosing to be a little more directive and saying you need to work this way. Microsoft is going to play off of the power of choice. Where are you at your best? How would you like to work? Where would you like to work? When would you like to work? What accommodations do you need? So if I'm being really open about it, I think we've, again, empowered people to be more explicit around what their needs are and how they can be their best if they choose to speak up and ask for that type of help. And I think there's been a long history in the disability community of struggling with, can I bring this up? Should I bring it up? Is it okay to ask for help? Should I cover? I think we've kind of ripped the lid off of a lot of that during the pandemic and saying, listen, in some ways, all of us were compromised in different ways. And what are we now going to do about that? And so we're talking about policies and procedures and social norms and leadership behaviors that really are meant to be more flexible. That's the best way to describe it. More flexible. And we're talking about the idea of hybrid. What hours do you work? Where do you do it from? What would you prefer? Is that conducive to being productive? Having a conversation with your manager about that and allowing us to use more judgment than we used to. So I'm optimistic because I think this unlocked a lot of emotion in the system that people didn't know how to address before. I mean, in many ways, we're now giving each other permission to have very open dialogues about the workplace.
It's been great to see. To your comment, really, it's about empowering our people to empower the planet. Well, I really appreciate everyone's time and thoughtfulness and sharing your journey. I look forward to the journey ahead for us as an ERG. And thank you for joining us. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.